very easy to treat on-hold marketing as, quote, just on-hold marketing. But it's a touch point as important as any other marketing or customer service touch point. Think about this. If you created an on-hold marketing production that was intentionally horrible, I mean, everything, bad copy, bad voiceover, bad music, bad recording, everything bad, would callers notice how awful it was? Of course they would. So why is it crazy to think that thoughtful or engaging or interesting on-hold marketing content is any less valuable than good content you'd see on a website or on a TV spot or in a magazine? And my answer is it's not. On-hold marketing is not less valuable. And I'm here today to urge you to treat it as the communications opportunity and the creative opportunity that it is. And when I talk with our writers here at BusinessVoice, I recommend that they start from a place of possibility. And that's that idea that the script you're about to write is an opportunity to serve the client by sharing good stuff with their callers in a way that those callers will engage with and remember, and even ideally tell other people about. I mean, we tell people about TV commercials we like, right? And we share funny videos that we find online with our friends and on social media channels, right? So why shouldn't we as writers aspire to create on-hold marketing content that people talk about and that they share with friends? And by the way, also serves our clients' brands in terrific ways. The Marcy Awards, in case you don't know, is the On-Hold Messaging Association's annual event that celebrates our industry's best work. And a few months back, I was asked to come up with some possible award categories for that competition. Now, the Marcy Awards was actually designed to celebrate marketing and creative excellence. In fact, that's what the very name Marcy means. It's M-A-R for marketing, C for creative, and E for excellence. So I thought the award category should reflect at least some of what defines marketing excellence. And these are the award categories I came up with. Most effective OHM. Does this OHM do the best job of creating a strong desire to learn about the product, buy the product, or respond to other calls to action? Most entertaining OHM. Is this production the funniest, the most dramatic, or the most engaging for another reason? Would it keep callers on the line? Would callers remember it or tell others about it? Most unique on-hold marketing concept. Does this entry use the on-hold marketing in an unusual but positive way? Is it groundbreaking? Would it engage callers because of its different approach? Best branding. Is this production the most effective at creating a sense of who the company is, why they're different, what they stand for, defining the kind of experience that consumers can expect? And best of show. Does this production combine all the elements of effective on-hold marketing more than any other entry? Is it a pleasure to listen to? Is it a production that would represent the OHM industry well as our best effort of the year? If you're trying to do work that's more creative, it helps to know what you're shooting for, right? What your goals are. In most cases, the creative path you pursue should be pointed toward the client's specific needs, right? I mean, if the client says, I want to sell more tires, you don't spend a lot of time trying to develop copy about hubcaps and wheels. And I think those Marcy categories that we just covered provide other goals that you can aim for as well, not just to try to win awards, but to produce better work for our clients and their callers, and for the good of your company, even the good of our industry, our reputation. When you know, for instance, that you need to write copy that needs to create a strong desire in callers to ask questions about a product, that's going to change the way you approach that copy. When you know that your goal is to create buzz about your client or their product, you're more likely perhaps to develop copy that is really unusual, or ideas that are going to take callers to places they've never been before while on hold. When you know that the client wants to use on-hold marketing to reinforce his brand identity, you know that you have to come up with ways to prove their claims of who they are, and that again is going to affect your creative approach. Now, our writers here at BusinessVoice have a ton of work to do every month. They write a lot of OHM copy. So we know firsthand that it's very easy to take shortcuts and just write what you've always written, or write what people expect to hear while they're on hold, or even what the client expects to hear on hold. But when you take some time before starting each script to consider what your goals are, you're much more likely to write focused, purposeful copy. And I'll suggest even copy with a more unique or creative approach. So why is presenting information to callers in a creative way important? The world is a busier and noisier and more crowded place, more crowded with marketing messages than at any point in history, and it's only going to get noisier and busier. So it's increasingly important to find ways to create content that stands out, that resonates with people, and that is memorable. I was interviewed by Tire Review magazine recently for an upcoming article they're publishing about print advertising for tire dealers. And one of the questions I was asked was, do you have any suggestions on ways to save money or cut costs when developing a print ad campaign? And part of my answer was, the space you buy will cost the same whether your ad is bad or good. So hire professionals to design and write ads that are more effective. A lousy ad will waste your money, but a great ad campaign can generate interest and revenue for months or years to come. It's the same with on-hold marketing. If you approach OHM copy as filler, just something to waste a little time, while callers are on hold for a few seconds, you and your clients and their callers aren't going to get a whole lot out of it. But when you work to capture their attention in creative and unusual and unexpected ways, and then slip in that real marketing message in a way that's easy for callers to accept and digest and process, you've got a much better chance of engaging your audience and keeping them listening. Here's a lesson in humor disguised as an email exchange. And this email conversation took place several months back after we had learned that the father of one of our employees had passed away. And I began by sending this email: hey gang, here's what I found out about Patty's dad, visitation and service info included. And Jessica, one of our copywriters, responded by saying, I assume we're making a donation in his name or sending flowers. Would you like me to pick up a card for everyone to sign? And I replied, yes, that would be nice. Nothing with a chimp on it, please. Thank you. Jess said, okay, I'll bring in something Monday and pass it around. Please make sure it is not syphilis, I added. And Jess said, I was thinking more along the lines of gonorrhea. It's the tasteful conversations we have in the office here. And then I thought, well, gosh, this is an unanticipated exercise time. I said to Jess, please send me a different comeback. You wrote, I'll bring in something and pass it around, referring to a card. And I replied by taking the innocent something that you would pass around and turning it into a venereal disease. And that's about as far from a sympathy card as you can get. But you replied to my VD with more VD. More of the same VD is not funny. It's your job to take my VD and go somewhere different with it, somewhere unexpected, that's more likely to get me to laugh or react. And Jess came back with her revised comeback. How about a pound of reefer, basically, to pass around? Better, reefer is a funny word, but you don't have to just come up with something else to pass around. What about a totally different direction? Syphilis took the conversation into a totally different direction, right? Quick ideas off the top of my head. Please make sure it's not syphilis. Why not? Please make sure it's not syphilis. Is that the new line from Hallmark? Please make sure it's not syphilis. What's my sister got to do with this? Shifting directions like that might lead you to some exciting things. And it's the kind of thinking that would help you when you're asked to write funny copy for, say, that insurance agency that she was struggling with. You were looking at boring old insurance straight on, taking it at face value. Maybe you need to shift direction and take it to another place. See how learning to do that and practicing that can open up all sorts of possibilities. How can we elevate that copy and take it in a different place? So let's get back to what I'm going to call nuts and bolts, and I'm breaking down a couple of attempts at humor here. Here's an example of a message that was written by one of our writers for Parker Steel, which is a client of ours who specializes in metric-sized metals. And he wrote, everybody likes a good, hearty chunk of metal, but if you don't use it all up, you're stuck with leftovers that spoil over time and stink up the place. At Parker Steel, we cut your metal into more manageable bite-sized pieces. We also carry pre-sized metric metals, which will save you time and free up space in your refrigerator. So as this writer and I are having a conversation about the content, I said, well, some of this doesn't work for me too well as a piece of comedy, I guess, and let me tell you why it doesn't work for me personally. It's not even remotely believable, for instance, that everybody, as he says, likes to eat metal and has to store leftovers in a refrigerator. But you might want to talk about one weird guy or one city in Missouri where they do eat metal and for some specific reason, whatever that may be, or how that Parker steel doesn't have to be stored in a refrigerator like those other metals, so they won't spoil in the hot sun. You can still introduce an odd concept without being silly or completely unbelievable. And to me, a good example of that is some of the best Saturday Night Live films or commercial parodies, the ones that are very real. Sometimes they're not even as funny necessarily. It's just that they're so believable or sincere or well executed that they're hard not to laugh at for that reason alone. The next message that this writer came up with was this one for Parker Steel. If you're faced with a shambling horde of zombies, make Parker Steel your first line of defense. We carry the largest selection of metric steel bars in the country, and if steel isn't your brand of zombie-beaten metal, we also carry extruded aluminum, brass, copper, and titanium bars. Swing away at legions of the undead with confidence, knowing that you're gripping a quality piece of metal from Parker Steel. Here's why that did work for me in a comedic way. First of all, the funny phrases like shambling horde and zombie-beaten metal and swing away at legions of the undead. The copy contains words you don't hear too often, like shambling and legions and stuff like that. That uniqueness makes the entire message sound, in a way, more legitimate, but also, to me, pretty funny. Keep in mind that individual words can be very funny, and the example I use is Dennis Miller. Certainly funny concepts, but I never understood half of his vocabulary or his references, but in his prime I thought he was hysterical. So those individual words can make a huge difference in how in your style and how they affect the feel and the sound of that copy. Second reason this works for me is the concept is solid. Zombies certainly don't exist. I'll go out on a limb and say that. But they're everywhere in pop culture these days, so callers can relate to the idea of having to fend them off, perhaps. And the fact that they can use Parker Steel metals to do that puts kind of a unique and funny twist on the product. And thirdly, the writer had some fun with a convention or a cliche of advertising when he wrote that you can use the metal with confidence to kill zombies, as if you would use it for that. And again, these are the conversations we have to try to hone this process of writing content. We can all have funny conversations at home, around the office, or whatever, but when the rubber meets the road and you have to actually write content for a client that's humorous and more creative, you have to maybe understand those nuts and bolts a little bit so you can actually get the work done. So how can you be more creative? There are no comedy writers born on desert islands, as far as I know. And why is that? Well, there's not a whole lot of things to reference. No society, no politics, no pop culture. I mean, you can write about sand crabs all you want, but that gets a little old after a while. So if you want to take a more creative approach to writing content, creative content, I would say try exposing yourself to more things, more news, more culture, more about the industries that you're writing for. Read writers that you've never considered before, or watch new comedians. Listen to different music that is kind of out there for you. Visit museums. Take a new route to work. Move your desk, something as simple as that. Daily routine can be a creativity killer for a lot of folks. So the more you can expose yourself to new ideas and just new ways of doing things, it's going to be a healthy thing, I think. Another step is expose yourself specifically to creative marketing. This can be very inspiring for me, and frankly, it makes me a little jealous sometimes to see some of that great work out there, and it gives me a kick that I need to try something different or to up my game or take things in a different direction. But with that comes a caveat: never steal content from anybody or never try to be a derivative of other people's work. And that leads me into this next idea, which is a book called Idea Links by a guy named Jim Link. And in this book, Jim dismisses the idea that only certain people can be creative. And he gives a lot of examples of how anyone can take the core concept or the core value of an existing idea or an existing truth and then combine that with another idea to create something completely new. And he gives, again, a lot of great examples, and it's eye-opening, and it kind of changed the way I went through life, looking at things on the drive into work, in a conversation with somebody, as you look at other advertising or marketing or whatever. How can I take what works in that ad, or what worked in this conversation, or what worked in this solution, take the guts of that and mix it with a new idea to create something new. And again, I'm the first one to say, do not steal and do not borrow generously, or however you want to say it. But this idea length concept might change the way you look at things, and might be a great source of a great way to approach creativity. So I suggest getting that. I in fact bought that for our entire creative staff a couple of Christmases ago. It's on Amazon. I think it's pretty cheap. It's a good read, and practical things that you can apply. Another way to bring creativity to your work is to mine your own life and your own emotions. How would I use this product? What's important to me as a consumer? What are my fears? What are my victories, my wins? And might your audience identify with those same feelings? And there's a pretty good chance they might. We have more similarities than differences, so there's a good chance that can work. Seth Godin, very well-known marketer, blogger, wrote this about dreams and fears. He said, sooner or later, important action taken comes down to this: fear of being ashamed, feeling stupid, being rejected, being left out, getting hurt, being embarrassed, left alone, or dying. Or dreams of being seen, being needed, becoming independent, relieving anxiety, becoming powerful, making someone proud, fitting in, seen as special, mattering, taken care of, or loved. Marketers, he says, put many layers atop these basic needs, such as horsepower, processor speed, features, pricing, testimonials, guarantees, and more. But it all comes down to dreams and fears. Consistency across the client's marketing channels. On-hold marketing content should not be developed in a vacuum. It needs to support the client's overall message and goals. So as you're developing these ideas and writing copy, always be asking yourself, how will this content serve the client's marketing goals by first serving the needs and wants of their callers? What other marketing channels is the client using? Is it digital? Is it broadcast? Is it print? What's the message your client is putting out through those channels? And then once consumers have reacted to that message and called your client, how can you then use your OHM content to transition those callers into the next phase of that relationship? You want to be sure that your message feels like the rest of the client's marketing, so callers don't experience a disconnect, whenever possible, that is. A disconnect between what they hear on, for instance, their radio spots and what they hear while they're on hold. But you also need to move the callers from those outside marketing channels into the client's company, and that next step that you want them to take. Be specific. There's an article recently in Advertising Age written by Phil Johnson, who's with an ad agency called, I think it's PG&A, and it was called The Perils of Agency Positioning. This is the thing I took away from it, though. He says, this may sound counterintuitive, but we aspire to pursue a higher purpose in advertising and marketing. At our core, we believe in the power of communications to shape human relationships, drive societal change, and create business success. Advertising and marketing merely provide the set of tools to connect people and to improve the interaction between consumers and brands. Back to Seth Godin. He has a couple simple questions for writers. He says, what is it for? If this piece of writing that you're working on works, what will it change? What action will be taken? And will it spread? After the person you seek to reach reads this, will she share it? Shared action is amplified action. Love that. Shared action is amplified action. Writing can make a difference, he says, so write to make a difference. It's an opportunity we have every day as writers to connect with our audience, our clients, callers, and their customers. I urge you to take advantage of that and take advantage of all the opportunity that's within each script and with each opportunity to update content and talk to people. And here's what they may not have told you when you were in college or when you got hired, and that's that creating content for on-hold marketing or any other channel for that matter is hard. And to do it consistently well, even harder. But as I tell my gang here, please fight any urge you may feel to, quote, just get it done. Your words and your concepts and your style can impact callers long past the initial time that they're on hold. Yes, you need to provide calls to action that callers can respond to, they can act on. But ideally, the words you write and the experience you help to create will elevate the interaction that callers have with your client's company and resonate with your audience long after they hang up.